2 interviews yesterday. One at a manufacturing company. They said they already told my temp agency that they were going to pass on me, so that one didn't come through. But the second one I had yesterday was a remote job for like life insurance. Now this one seems like big business. This one seems like the real deal. Like, I hope it is, because the way the dude was talking, and I was recording, but I don't have permission from the guy. I might ask him if I could put that on the internet, see how he feels about it. But it was a good Zoom meeting, and man, that guy was saying we can make some real money in his business, and I'm all about it. I got a job lined up Monday for like a Coca-Cola company, just warehouse job, moving crates with lift. And here in less than 2 weeks, me and Erich are gonna head out to, if everything goes to plan, we're gonna head out to KC for a program for a wind energy opportunity. I used to do cell phone towers, and so we got some things in the works. We got a couple things floating around right now. We just need everything to start connecting, and just need to have good faith and, keep our heads up. And I think it's all gonna work out. I got some good people I'm talking to right now, and it's been a long time since I've had a good community of people. What about you, Erich? What's your kind of, has it been a long time since you've had like a real good community, or what's your kind of perspective or side of like navigating the American experience?
I think it's been a long time since I had a good community. It's been a long time since I've met some real people. Keeping the faith, and it turns out recently with this experience that I've met a few solid people that I could actually talk to that are trying to do the right thing and positive. It's not always that way. It's not always that people are really trying to help you. Everybody's scheming and playing, and they say they got your back, but they don't really got your back.
And they don't, like talking about it, because then they feel like, they're the ones, creating all the drama, or, manifesting it. And it's like, nah, we're just calling it as we see it.
Yep. Call it out as it is, man. I think even with the last experience there with Bonnie.
Talk about it.
Yeah. It was awesome to see, because it's good to see someone stand up for herself and another person stand up. And it's funny because everybody was in the same room and our coworkers were literally right there. And it's like, how did you not see all this? And when I mean right there, it was a very small room. It's not like it was a big facility.
Now, my perspective on it is Bonnie's a kind of she's a good looking lady, like, and a lot of those women in there that were working weren't. So that was just my perspective, like jealousy, exactly. Yeah. Like, it's like I get the same treatment, so I'm like, whenever I see it, I stand up for pretty ladies like that. Like, I hate it because I get it as a man. And
well, like I said earlier, I think there's certain misconceptions or perceptions of homeless folks, and it's all walks of life, and you never know when something's going to happen. And you have some really interesting and talented people that just need a break or need another chance at something or a start, and it just takes time. Unfortunately, it's not quick, but it's just nice to be able to connect with some solid people, because I'm sure it could be, and for some, it might been a horrible experience. But so far, I try to keep the positive. Dave will tell you I probably pretty much keep the positive, but it's just life's a lot easier, or it gets a little bit easier if you have someone else in your support network being positive.
Oh yeah.
But that will also call you out if you're being negative, or I'm not saying we all don't have bad days and all is great, but yeah, man, it's a lot easier to go through this and be negative and upset and disconnected and just misenchanted on things, or you can take it as, hey, it's another trials and tribulation, and keep your head up and keep going at it. I don't know. I think it makes it more interesting, and even doing this right now, I think it's good because it's showing a positive, and we're not bashing or saying anything negative. It's life.
I had an interview with that distribution company, and I like to talk about like the little things, and like my interpretation of it is like it's the Holy Spirit kind of reaching out to you and trying to talk to you and guide you along the right path. And so I go to this manufacturing company for an interview yesterday, and pretty lady at the receptionist, so I always feel comfortable talking to a pretty lady, unless they're crazy or just they don't like talking, then of course. But her name was Angel, and so like I have my cross on the inside of my shirt, and I take it out like, oh hey Angel, you like my necklace? And she's like, oh, I got one too. And I was like, okay, well, I thought it was gonna be a fit there at that manufacturing company, but and this lady Angel was telling me how, like, I forgot where she came from, but she came from around the same area as me, like the Ozarks, and I probably remember if I look around at a map, but she told me her town went from like 10,000 people to like 30,000 people. I'm just like, okay, well, and she's like, yeah, and the way she said it, she's like, it was just a coincidence, like it was just like as soon as I leave, then it just starts booming over there. And I was like, so I just said, I was like, okay, well, it sounds to me, Angel, like you're kind of holding it down over there, keeping things tight, and not saying anything bad. And she didn't take it in a negative way, and we just laughed, just like we're just talking, just trying to make conversation, trying to figure out what it all means and why things are the way they are. And so, but I kind of tell, like, her being a pretty lady, like, whenever I went to my interview, it was another lady, and she was just real uptight and real proper and stiff, and whenever, the receptionist, Angel, handed me off to her, Angel said something like, don't trip out, like, she's basically like had my back. She was like, saying this guy seems like a good guy, basically. And I knew what she was saying, but the lady interviewing me, she was just a real, and I matched her energy, and if I could get her to laugh or smile, I would have tried, but she just seemed like she wasn't gonna go for it, so I didn't even, it just didn't seem like a good, like, interview to kind of, and I was trying to find ways to, like, talk to her and, like, relate to her, but the meeting room was just empty, and, like, there's just nothing to go off of. I just couldn't hit on anything Well, with Angel, she had her own thing going on. She had, her desk was all personalized. She had, her name had a couple bats on it. So I was like, okay, Angel, do you like caves? I was like, I just saw your, name template, and I just saw the bats on there. So, and, turns out she does like doing all that. And we were kind of from the same kind of background. She likes hiking, and I was like, have you ever been to Ha Ha Tonka? And she been out there. She's like, yeah, that's, like I was saying, she's around Lake Ozarks area, and she's like, oh yeah, I'm like only 30 minutes from there. And I was like, that's right. I was like, I never been out to her. Maybe I want to say it was out towards Sedalia or somewhere, but it was somewhere in the area. And we were just having a good conversation and it was a good 10-20 minutes before I went to have the interview. But she had some mushrooms and gnomes on her desk, and asked her about that, and I was like, do you like to do mushroom hunting? Maybe. And she's like, no. And I was just like, oh well, I just seen the mushrooms on your desk, I didn't mean anything, just trying to keep it kosher. And she's just like, she could tell I was just not trying to be instigative or instigate like an argument. So she was like, but she's like, no, I never have done mushroom hunting. But she thought about it, or like, she wouldn't mind it. And she knew the type of mushrooms to hunt, the morels or whatever. So
It's an extreme.
I don't know. What do you like doing for fun, Eric? Your hobbies or pastimes, or?
I'm an outdoors kind of person. I'm an outdoors person, but I also like doing judo and jiu-jitsu, and I've done that almost all of my life. I still do it.
Dude, this guy Erich, yesterday, man, he's a chiropractor, low key, man. This guy, I'm gonna find him a chiropractor job because he makes some money doing that, and he's good at it, dude. He took me and he just like popped all my. I was like, dude, I feel 100 times better.
I think it's this little. I don't know if that's the walkway or the driveway.
And I'm seeing on I get on the internet.
Sorry.
And I'm seeing teachers are even live streaming now. So I'm just like,
Everybody
I'm
is.
definitely getting in it. I'm talking about something. Because there's money in it. And it's not Hollywood no more. It's not like you gotta do a bunch of weird rituals to get in. Like, no, it's YouTube, it's streaming, it's it's a whole different world now. We don't have to live by the old standards and the gatekeepers of the past anymore. Like, you see, it's 2026. What's going on? They're going after all the elites, X and, just Tesla. They're tired of it. They're done with it. We're all trying to band together and shut them down because there's some bad people out there. And I just saw, it could have been fake news, but I saw that, I think it was Norway. They got one of the elites, like the very first one, and I have to double check and make sure I'm not spreading propaganda, but they got one apparently, like let's just say unverified so far. We'll continue to watch and see if it's legitimate, but that's a good sign if so, because for a long time they weren't doing nothing, and these creepos and on these weird islands, they were just getting away with it, So if they got one of them, that's just the start of it. They're They're gonna get a bunch more of them, and it's gonna be for the better. And like, all the trends I see on the internet now are just like, you know, oh, you know, if
Straighten up, brother.
yeah, I do. If the let's see here.
The internet trends.
Okay, so they were saying on the new internet trend, they were saying, you know, if a society's gonna shut down because of this or that reason, you know, maybe it needs to shut down. And, you know, I'm homeless, so I'm with it, you know. Like, I'm totally on board with the revolution to make things better. And, you know, sometimes things got to get worse before it gets better, but it seems like the whole singularity is a real thing, you know. Elon's talking about it, and I'll tell you what, like, I didn't get it at first, and I was looking into the meaning of it, and the only way I can kind of relate to it, and this might not be what it's about, but this is how I perceived it. You know, I got locked up for a speeding ticket in Greene County, and I go in there just ranting and raving about, like, you know, some Epstein Island stuff, like, I'm a survivor, you know, I'm a refugee, like I'm a good guy, like, and I'm being prosecuted, you know, as an innocent person, just caught up in the craziness of the world, just like trying to escape it all, you know. There's good people out there trying to escape those kind of places, and we don't want to be a part of it, and we're not gonna fold, and we're not gonna, you know, be like those Epstein Island people. So we end up homeless because we don't want to conform. And a lot of churches, you know, they'll say things like, do exactly as you're told to do. And it's like, no thank you, I'd rather be homeless. I'm not gonna do some weird stuff, you know. So the singularity, in my perspective, I go to jail, and I'm in there talking to all the people, like the guards and everybody, and I'm just telling them all about my life, and, you know, all the kind of family drama I go through, and the reason why I don't have support, and the reason why I'm homeless, even though I have a lot of good things going on. I go to my trade schools. I'm a working man. I do the best I can in life. I go to church now for the past 2 years, you know. I get condemned for trying to do my best, you know. There's like, oh, well, even the church people condemn me. I go to church, and they the bishop starts saying things like, it's going to get real tough around here. And I give him a big old smile. I'm just like, good. I'm just like, because there's a bunch of lazy people here right now, and I wouldn't mind some competition. I'm not scared of it, you know, because that bishop, he had an ugly wife. I'm just going to say it, you know. What are you talking about? It's going to get real tough. Competition's going to get real tough. Well, you don't even have a good-looking wife. So that's my perspective. Like, who cares if there's a lot of competition? Like, coming from you don't even have a good-looking wife. So it's like, how are you going to tell me how it should be and how you can help me out when you don't even have it going on? I'm not going to listen to what you're saying, you know? The bishop's president had a good-looking wife. I'll listen to him. I'll do what he says, you know. And that president was always a good dude. He always had my back. If I stood up during church service, he'd stand up at the same time as me. And now the whole room stands up because it's the president, and they're going to copy him like that. Well, you know, I was sitting in the middle of the church, you know, so only the people behind me saw what was going on. The people in front of me had no idea. But the people behind me, there's like, no, that's not a coincidence. David stood up, and we saw and they probably been going there for a minute now. So there's like, they know how it goes, how the president acts, and they might be like, well, he's never done that before with anybody. Now everywhere I go, it's Bishop David. Everywhere I go, it's Father David. Everywhere I go, it's Priest Dave. I got a whole, 2 years ago, whenever I first started going to the churches, I was duking it out with this David, and it was on the internet. So if people were, doing a background search on me, they could kind of twist that up and be like, okay, well, we know David don't get along with the other Davids. So all of a sudden in the churches, there's Davids everywhere. This is before they're in positions of power, like being the pastors. So, me knowing that they can do a background check on me, saying that, oh, in the past I didn't get along with this rich David, and we were, I was calling him out on the internet. So now I kind of got to watch it and like not repeat those kind of things, because it's just not a good thing. And also, it's kind of manipulation. It's like, I wouldn't want to, just fight with people just because they got the same name as me, But, and I don't even think it's like, I think it's like the algorithm. I don't think it's the men in power pulling strings. There might be a little of that going on, but the smart nerds have figured out how to use the internet algorithm, and just, I interpret it as the Holy Spirit, and I always try to, look at it in a good sense of light. But there's just this saying where it's like, there's this saying, and I don't want to come off offensive to you or anybody else, but it's talking about races, and so I just forewarning you, don't come at me. I get along with everybody. It don't matter who you are, what kind of creed or race, religion. I get along with you if you're a good person. But the saying goes, if it's a bunch of Italian people, it gets started calling them mafia. Now, if it's a bunch of Mexicans, it gets to start being called cartel. Okay, well, if it's a bunch of black people, it gets called a gang. Okay, well, if it's a bunch of Jews, well, now it's just a coincidence. Now it's just like, oh, super coincidence. We had no idea, like, so there's something to it. Like, a lot of religious people interpret it as the Holy Spirit, but whatever it is, it's a real thing, I mean, my background, I'm from like a technological background. I started off in the tower communications industry 2 years after high school in 2017. I graduated in 2015. Now, I never really thought about that too much, but as a kid, I was always pushing for, technological things and advancements and modern things. I'm just like, I don't want to go back in the past. I want to keep going to the future. So maybe just being a kid, manifesting that, I kind of just naturally kind of got myself into there. The Holy Spirit kind of helped guide me there, just because I would talk about it in real life and to everybody I know, and everybody knew what I was about. So just whenever the opportunity came for cell phone tower jobs, I just got right on board, because I was just like, I grew up no internet in a time where everybody had internet. So I may have been born in the 90s, but really I was living in the 70s or 80s, box TVs, dial telephones. even though we're past all that, you know, a lot of people that just have and my nephews, they're going through it now in 2026, the 2020s. It's way too, there shouldn't, we should be in the future by now is what I'm saying. We shouldn't, there should be no reason why my nephews are growing up, more old school than I grew up. There's no way that should be going on, I bring my nephews around and we just have good times, of course, but, I wish I could steer them the right direction but I'd rather just take them out to the park or, play a video game with them or some sports or something, just have a good time. But
Video games is better. Well, no, sports is better. The interaction's good.
I'm planning on getting on GTA 6 whenever that gets out, because that'll be an opportunity for me to go viral and start doing what I really want to do in life, and just, having that stability. I would be able to look out for people like me that are good people and just deserve, better opportunities. Once that game comes out, it's going to be, a bunch of new gamers coming out, getting famous, because they're saying that when GTA 6 comes out, the servers for the internet are going to shut down because it's going to be such a big, massive surge of people just using it. And I believe it. Every time GTA drops, they're always ahead of every other gaming industry. But, I'm torn between, whether I want to, devote myself to society or just have a good time and, devote my time to hobbies and things I really enjoy. Well, since the start of this year, I've just been, devoting my time to society. I've been studying, just applying for jobs, just building my community. There's no time for the books I want to read. There's no time for the video games I want to play. There's barely any time for music or the podcasts I want to watch. I get to watch them or listen to the music whenever I have a road trip, and I don't have much to talk about, because now that I'm actually podcasting, I get to ventilate, and I have less to say now that I have an outlet. For a long time, I would just talk to my community, my friends, my peers, and eventually it would just, they get tired of hearing it. And it, even with family or just, whoever I'm talking to, it's like, So I started talking to the internet. I was just like, I don't know, I gotta ventilate to somebody, and everybody's sick of hearing it, to the point where I'm homeless. They just think it's all talk, and it is, but it's manifestation also. This is my thing. If they believed in the words I'm saying, and they were pushing the same agenda, then we would be able to kind of manifest greatness and create, more opportunities. But the fact that, they just kind of nod their head, they just kind of they hear what I'm saying, and a lot of them, they really do. My last roommate, he gave me these tips for like smoking marijuana joints. You put the little tip filter into it. But I know what he was saying. He gave them to me like, hey, you're always giving me tips. Here's some tips. Like, he gave me some literal tips. So they kind of like, they like hearing it, but you know, they just see what direction I'm headed. Now, especially I'm homeless, so they don't want to end up in the same boat as me. But it's just what you got to go through sometimes. Sometimes you just got to, you know, be like Jesus and be a homeless person and find the realest people out there to kind of, you know, and focus on what really needs focus. It is mentally draining, like doing it every day, 6-7 days out of the week. It gets so tiring. My brain, like, I'm usually super energetic, especially whenever I have my pre-workout. I'm just like bouncing off the walls, like, you know. But right now, even with my pre-workout, I'm really just, you know, I've been talking here for 30 minutes, but I'm kind of like, you can kind of tell, like, my conversations kind of slow down a little bit and I have to think as a new topic. Well, it's because all this studying, applying for jobs,
mentally taxing.
it's just mentally, like, it makes me tired, like, sleepy. And, you know, it's necessary because it helps. It's knowledge that I need to learn and to expand and to grow and to help others grow. But whenever I'm the only person doing it and I'm not around a bunch of other people that are doing the same thing, it's like, and Eric, you know, Eric's right here with me, but, you know, and I'm not saying Eric's not helping, but, you know, it's just, my body hurts and...
So you need another adjustment.
But I'm gonna find a bunch of, you know, we gonna figure it out. We're in this together, you know. I don't, like, Eric, I'm not saying Eric's gotta, you know, do the same things I do, and it would be helpful, but, you know, it's just, I'm just glad he's, you know, here on my side, not against me. Like,
That's called fate.
that's just where we're at. We're just like, you know, we just want a good friend to be there for us and just, you know, not trip out every little thing and think that everything's like, you know, a negative kind of thing. And I'm getting Eric to open up with me. He's starting to talk a little bit more, and he's telling me his stories, and so it's not so much one-sided conversations, but as you can see,
you'll get some.
I've been doing, like, even during this episode, I've been doing most of the talking.
I'm agreeing with some of this stuff. I'm agreeing with some of the stuff. I listen too. You have to have people in your life that actually listen.
I'm gonna get you activated, Eric. I'm gonna get you talking.
You're pre-workout.
You need some of the pre-workout I'm on. He had a couple cups of coffee and
it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough on a rainy day. That was that.
And really, we don't have a lot to talk about being homeless. There's not a whole lot of, you know, things going on in our life. It's a pretty, you know, monotonous kind of just regular average Joe kind of life. But I come from Kansas City and it was just fast paced over there. If I was live streaming, I'm telling you, like, I would go viral in a month. Like, I was just I was bouncing off the walls over there because people were like turning me up, they were stirring me up, and I just, start getting all amped up, like ready to talk about it all. It's not the best thing because those people were basically gaslighting me, kind of just messing with me 24/7, Over here in Springfield, it's a little bit slower. Everybody's, not like subliminally gaslighting you 24/7. Me and Eric been talking about it, and there are a lot of them, but I'm saying if we go to Kansas City with this wind energy program, I don't know if you've been over to Kansas City, but it's on another level over there where they start getting you worked up, and you just gotta go run around, you gotta talk on the internet, you just gotta talk to somebody, or you gotta have an outlet, you gotta go smoke some weed or something, because they get you worked up and you're just like, oof, and
Pause it a second.
what do you think, Eric? You ready for Kansas City?
I'm not gonna root for the football team.
No Chiefs?
No Chiefs here. I'm from the Northeast. That ain't happening. Most definitely. It's an experience. That's what it's all about. That's what life's about. It's an experience. You can be a robot and pre-programmed, and then not happy with your life, or you can have it, make it an adventure, and take it good with the bad. But I've been finding out there's a little bit more good than some of the bad, and being I'm a realist, but being optimistic doesn't hurt. So, yeah, man.
So Eric, I don't know his full background, but I know he's military. I know he's a working man. I know he's a strong man. I know he's confident. I know he's a good dude. And where did your career kind of start, other than like military though? Like what kind of... Pause it.